Okay, so today I'm really delighted to be joined by Nadia Hernandez, who is a behavioral equine expert. She's based in Luxembourg. Nadia combines psychology with equine science, and she helps horses and riders to better understand each other, working with the partnership very much to build confidence. So, a big warm welcome, Nadia.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. Lovely to chat. Um, so, for anyone who is interested in your work and what you do, and in case they want to follow you into that line of work, what brought you then? What was your journey into the world of equine behavior?
I've always been obsessed with understanding why humans and animals do the things that they do. That's been my entire life journey. And it just made sense to start my education in human psychology and then make my way into equine science as well. And that same kind of obsession has just been with me forever. So the question that I've always asked, even when I was very, very young in riding schools, when a horse was behaving a certain way, my question was always why. And
Hmm.
that has been just the guiding question behind the work that I've developed over the
Yeah.
last 10 years since I've been an adult, essentially. So it's just always why and how can we make it better?
Oh, fantastic. So, originally studying psychology, as you say, human
Yeah.
psychology, and then you did a master's degree in equine science. What made you combine the two?
My life experience, to be honest. Um, yeah, I started out studying purely human psychology, and horses were a very, very time-consuming hobby on the side, but very, very quickly became the center of my work without having switched courses necessarily. And I very quickly discovered equine assisted therapy and all of this kind of thing, and became really, really interested on the impact that horses have on humans that are suffering. And so from there, things sort of snowballed into combining the two things.
Yeah.
And what I do today is not equine assisted therapy. It's coaching for the human, for the partnership, and also therapy for the horse, essentially. So very much horses that are injured, traumatized, that have had just a hard go of it, essentially.
Yeah.
I work almost exclusively with horses like that. So it's sort of become just a way that I operate, the human psychology and the equine psychology, and we just bring it together to
Hmm.
make the partnership work better.
Yeah.
Also, the two individual pieces be as essentially happy as possible.
Yeah, because most people, and this includes myself, we concentrate on one half
Yeah,
of the partnership,
yeah,
but you can kind of deal with both and help
yeah.
both, can't you? And I love that the word that comes across, I think, from your work is partnership.
Yes.
And what made you make that shift away from choosing the horse or the rider?
Wow, what a great question. Honestly, I'm not sure that it was anything specifically concrete. I think it was more seeing so many partnerships over the years that I've been in the industry professionally, and just seeing how things mirror each other between the human and the horse, and actually never being able to fully separate one from the other.
Mm,
Um, and it just became so much more logical, I guess, for me to address both.
yeah.
Because when I start with a new client, or rather, this was maybe back when I was still sort of figuring out my path.
Yeah.
But when a new client contacted me, I would explain to them, okay, well, this is how I operate. Um, we're going to work on you as well. I'm not going to intervene on just the horse,
Mm.
and vice versa. If I'm called for the human, there'll be things that come up also in the horse. So I'm actually very upfront about that, always have been. And there are some people who are not interested in that, and that's fine. But a lot of people really resonate with that. And when we start
Mm.
getting into the work, they're actually blown away by how much is there and how much we can actually also work on and improve on by just addressing those core issues in the partnership that are stemming from the human's perfectionism or OCD or any of this kind of
Mm.
thing. um, there's already a massive impact on how the horse will feel when we work on those things. And then when we also address the horse in tandem with that, any underlying pain or any underlying traumatic events in their life, anything like that, it's just magical to see what can happen when we really address both sides in tandem like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. Um, I wanted to pick up on something that you mentioned about the mirroring.
Yeah.
And most people know that horses mirror humans and they mirror them emotionally and so on. But two parts to my question really. Do you ever see it the opposite way around, where the human starts to mirror the horse? And the second part is, why do you think horses mirror humans? Is there a reason? Am I digging too deep there?
No, definitely not digging too deep. Definitely not digging too deep. I actually think that starting with the second part is easier.
Okay.
So the reason that horses mirror humans is because they're prey animals.
Hmm.
So they're designed, in order to survive, they're designed to adapt to what's around them. So they will respond based on what they're detecting from the beings that are around them. And because they don't necessarily live in herds the way they used to when they
Yeah.
were wild, purely wild, um, they respond as much to our state as they would to their herd member state. And so if we are stressed, that communicates to them that there is something to be stressed about. So they will mirror that. So it's really, a lot of people make it sound sort of mystical, which is, there's definitely an aspect to that because the things that the horses can pick up on is just incredible. But there's also a very, very concrete biological reason for why they do that and why it's such a recurring thing that you see in every horse, in every partnership. And it's because that is how they are designed. They're designed to react and respond to what they feel from the beings around them. That's how they survive. So that's why.
Hmm.
And so the first part of your question was, what was it again?
It's we said that the horse mirrors the person very
Yes.
often. Is there a case for the person mirroring the horse?
Um, I would argue that it's possible for sure. I think it's much less common,
Yeah.
because we're not designed biologically the same way as they are. However, there are partnerships that I've seen where there's kind of this kind of mutual mirroring going on. So
Mm.
the human will show up stressed, the horse will get stressed, and then the human will get stressed because the horse is stressed, and it just keeps kind of
Yeah.
escalating. But it's more often than not the horse mirroring what's going on in the human more than vice versa, more than the other way around.
Yeah.
But when you have a horse that you are extremely close and bonded with, especially when it's our personal horses,
Mm.
um, there's a lot of kind of backwards and forwardsing between the emotional states. And what's important is to also be able to differentiate, okay, what's mine,
Yeah.
what's the humans, what's the animals, and be able to kind of keep that healthy boundary between, okay, we're not one being. It's my horse and myself, and then there's space for the partnership to exist between us.
Hmm.
And that's really, really important as well because in those types of partnerships where there is that really deep mirroring going on, it can be very easy for the human to really anthropomorphize the horse,
Yeah.
and that can get into really sticky ground. So it's really important to have healthy boundaries within the partnership so that the horse can be a horse and the human can be a human.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. So when you when you first meet a challenging horse, let's say, so this horse has been a bit of a difficulty for the rider or the horse owner. What's the first step then? Do you interview the rider? Do you watch them together? How does it start off?
So my first step in any of my services, whether I'm addressing only the human, or if I've been called out for just the horse or the partnership, no matter what that point of entry
Yeah,
is, the first step is always taking the history of the horse. So I have a full history form that I send out to every new client, where I gather extensive details and history on the horse, any kind of video footage as well, just as much information as possible.
yeah.
And then from there, I already have a good idea of what might be going on the horse's side, what might be going on the human side, and then I take it from there. That's
Excellent.
the first step.
Yeah,
First
yeah.
step. Yeah.
That's interesting that you concern yourself with the horse first. I like that.
Yeah.
That's great. What do you think riders most commonly misunderstand about horse behavior? Whether that's generalized behavior or whether that's a challenging behavior for a human. What do they misunderstand, do you think?
The most frequent thing that I've seen, sorry, I've been ill this week, so I've got a bit of a cough that comes up every now and then. The biggest thing that I have seen recurrently is humans interpreting equine behavior through the human lens.
Yeah.
And that's a real problem because when you try and understand a prey animal with a flight instinct and a herd bound DNA,
Yeah.
um, you will automatically understand it wrong if you look at it through a human perspective.
Hmm.
So that's the biggest challenge, actually, is to actually help the human put the human lens down and actually look at what's going on through the horse's perspective,
Yeah.
through the perspective of a horse, with equine psychology in mind, with equine behavior in mind. And once the human starts to do that, it all starts making a lot more sense because a horse's behavior or way of responding to something is never strange, it's never illogical. We may not necessarily understand it immediately, but when you have all of the factors, it always makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really the biggest challenge is really helping getting people to just shift
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you give us an example of where people sometimes go wrong in their interpretation? What do you commonly see?
Well, actually, yes, there's a really good example just recently. This was not a client of mine, but a friend of mine. She has a young horse, a 5-year-old, who's been started under saddle fairly recently. Also gelded fairly recently. We've got, the seasons are changing over here, so the horses are all a little bit more fizzy, we'll say.
Yeah.
uh, and she had a friend of hers ride this horse a few weeks ago, and I can't remember now exactly what the setup to the situation was, but he bolted under the friend's saddle,
Yeah.
and the girl who was riding him did everything that she could in that moment to try and stop him. So she hung on the reins a little bit. The saddle kind of twisted, and she kind of held onto his neck, and he went faster and faster. And they both girls were understandably upset and struggling to kind of figure out what on earth had happened. And so my friend spoke to me about this, and I said, well, his reaction actually makes sense because if there's something somewhere that maybe spooked him and there was maybe just a small reaction to start with, and then it snowballed because there was a pressure, continuous pressure in the on the bit that was being
Mm.
pulled. So the horse's natural reaction to that is to pull through the bit.
Yeah.
So that will accelerate the bolting. And then on top of that, you have the saddle starting to twist.
Yeah.
From the perspective of a prey animal, something that's moving on their back is already scary. Plus, the pressure around the neck from the rider, also from this perspective of a prey animal and a flight animal, feels like a predator. So the only
Mm.
logical thing for the horse to do in that moment is to continue bolting faster.
Yeah.
And so when I explained this to her, she said to me, "Ah, okay, that makes sense. I understand that better now." And
Mhm.
she had interpreted it in a way that made her afraid of her horse,
Yeah.
afraid to get
Mm.
back on, afraid to, is this going to be something that happens regularly? But when you look at it really from what happened, truly, from the horse's perspective, okay, it makes sense. And once we understand why something's happened or what might have been the experience of the horse in that moment, it already takes away the charge,
Yeah.
the emotional charge of what
Yeah.
happened. And that's really, 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 really important because though we are emotional beings as humans also, and that's, we can't turn that off either,
Mm.
it's important to be able to manage the emotions, to regulate the emotions when you're in relation with an animal that is so sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I've got two questions now from that. So my first question is, um, thinking about this bolting horse, how do you stop that becoming a habit?
So I get this question often. People often ask me, when do we contact someone about equine behavior? And honestly, the
Mm.
sooner the better.
Hmm.
The sooner the better. When something happens once, doesn't necessarily automatically mean it's going to happen again. But if they have, through that event, learned an outcome,
Yeah.
whether negative or positive, doesn't really matter. For them, they've learned something from that. Once that kind of pathway is set in their brain, it can be very difficult to undo.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it makes it more difficult. So the sooner that we can intervene when there's been a problem, the better.
Yeah.
So the response is very often in the industry, the sooner we get back on the horse when we fall in, the better. Yes, but also no. It depends. It depends on many, many, many things. In this case, my friend, she said, "Well, I should probably ride him again tomorrow just to make sure that everything's okay." But she was scared.
Yeah.
She was scared, and I said to her, "Yes, but don't don't push it.
Yeah.
Just get on. Just ride around for a few moments, calm, so that he's not stressed, so that you're not stressed, so it's a good experience for you both, and it'll be fine." um, I ended up helping her. So it was, we checked to make sure that there was no reactions with the saddle, that he was
Yeah.
comfortable with everything. There was a little bit of a reaction with the bit, which makes sense because there was a bit of a pull.
Hmm.
So I said to her, just put a little bit of honey on it for the next few sessions, so that he just reworking that association
Yeah.
as soon as possible. And there's not been a problem since. It's really
Fantastic.
just breaking things down as fast as possible
Yeah.
and building back up slowly, so that essentially you're moving past the area where there was a block
Hmm.
without the horse or the human kind of bracing against it.
Yeah.
If we go back in immediately where the problem is, horse is stressed, human is stressed, and then it's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay, good.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So get in there as
Good.
quick as you can after the problem's happened with
Yeah.
somebody who can see the horse's
Yes.
perspective,
Yeah.
hopefully, if you can't see it yourself,
Yeah.
and just almost take things down a notch.
Yes. Always take things down a notch. Always, always, always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a really nice story though, that she got back on and it was fine
Yeah.
and it wasn't a repeat of the
No.
same thing. And the second thing that I was going to ask you was you mentioned, humans have got to be able to regulate their
Yeah.
own nervous system. Of course, we're going to have times when we feel emotions because we're not
Yes.
robots. But I suppose it's recognizing that and then bringing that down
Yeah.
to a calmer level. So, do you have any tips for what somebody could try out to regulate their own nervous system?
Yeah, so there are three things that I come back to regularly with my clients. The first one is our own breathing. That's really, really the biggest thing. Whether we're on the ground holding the lead rope or we're in the saddle or even just grooming them, if we are not relaxed in our body and we're not breathing, that's communicating to the horse that there is a tension or a stressor somewhere.
Hmm.
So the fact that we are able to breathe deeply, relax our shoulders, and really be in our bodies
Yeah.
communicates to the horse that the environment is safe. So that's already a huge thing that I work on with my riders all the time and with myself also. The second one is making sure that we are staying grounded in the present moment. So breathing already helps with that. That's already step one. But the next point is really just being able to focus on the now with our horses, not on, what happened at work 3 hours ago or what we have to make for dinner tonight or, what's going on with our husband at work or any of this kind of thing or the kids at school or this or, when our mind is running 19 to the dozen, it automatically sends stressed signals and tension to our bodies. So again, the more that we're able to focus on what we hear around us, like, the birds at the yard or any noises that are around us, and allow that to ground us into the present moment, what we can see, what we can feel, is really going to help the horse also to feel safe and secure in our presence because there's none of this kind of nervous energy going on.
Hmm.
So that's another point that I come back to a lot with my clients. And the third one is gratitude. So that's a really big one also, is really just shifting our mindset from the goal and the objective of our session, even if we can have one, of course, that's not a problem, but not forsaking all of the little things that are happening that lead up to that moment. So being grateful that your horse is putting their head in the head collar, being grateful that you have a horse that you can, pick the feet out of. All of these little things that put you in a state that is calm, that is high vibration, that is positive, that are already making us more likely to respond positively and correctly to what the horse is presenting. And the more that we also indicate to the horse that we're happy with this little thing, with this little thing, this little thing, the better they feel in our presence as well.
Hmm.
And we just build up to the objective of the session with all of these small things going on. Then the horse is like, oh, I'm the boss. My human is so happy with me. Of course, I'm going to do this counter departure. My human is so happy with me. Of course, I'm going to jump this oxer for them. And it's just an accumulation of a state of being that is honestly really good for us, even in our day-to-day life, even away from the horses.
Yeah, yeah. I like that very much. I like those three easy, well, relatively easy,
Yeah.
easy to remember, let's say.
Yes,
Not necessarily easy to do
yeah.
in the moment, but
So
those
they're
three
simple but
steps.
not easy. They're simple
Yeah,
but not easy. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and I like the second one where you said, stop thinking about all the stuff that you've got to do later,
Yeah.
all the stuff that's happened in the day. Some riders are not necessarily thinking about the stuff from work or their families or other things. They're thinking about the what ifs for the
Yes.
horse, aren't they? What
Yeah.
if my horse bucks or rears
Yeah.
or bolts or
Yeah.
spooks? Um,
Yeah.
is there anything that they can do, or is it a case of revisiting those three things again?
Those three things are already going to put chances on your side that those things won't happen.
Yeah.
Because the more what's going on in your mind, your body and your brain are living it as if those things are happening right now. So the more that you visualize, for example, a horse bucking, your brain is living your horse bucking. Your brain is living your horse bucking, and it's transmitting that into your body. So every time that that goes through your head, you're essentially kind of grounding it into almost lived memory, because the brain doesn't differentiate necessarily between what's imagined and what's actually real. That's
Yeah.
hard one for people to wrap their heads around, but it's really true. Um, so essentially, and I've seen this happen so often, is the human tensing because they think the horse is going to spook at a certain point in the arena, and then because the human has tensed, sorry, the horse spooks
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the communication from the human is indicating to the horse that there's a problem, and so the horse, as a prey animal and a flight animal, responds to that and spooks.
Yeah.
And with the bucking and the rearing and all of this kind of thing, there's a massive part that influences that also. We can't ever exclude pain. There's always a part that needs to be addressed there as well. We don't have
Mm.
full control over that. If there's pain, no matter what we do, there will be a reaction.
Yeah.
But staying grounded in the present moment, focusing on your breathing, on your gratitude for each moment, the whole process actually puts you in a state where those things are less likely to happen,
Yeah.
much, much less likely to happen. And it's something that people sometimes feel, how does this even help my horse to stop bucking? Well, it's simply because your body is communicating something different to the horse that's underneath you and
Yeah.
helps them to relax also.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so let's say we're now as riders, we've got the horse who may have had some kind of challenge, like your friend's horse bolting or something like that. But we've been practicing your three steps, and we're starting to feel a little bit more relaxed about the whole situation, and riding or even just being with the horse, and it's going in the right direction. How can we then start to build that trust again? Is it a case of just rinse and repeat and keep going, or is there something else that we could do?
So there is a lot of rinsing and repeating, for sure. The other thing that I really, really try and get my clients to accept is that horses are animals. They will always be unpredictable to a degree.
Yeah.
So the more that we're able to actually expect our horses to be horses, the more it takes out the what if and the fear and the possible tension that comes from that. So if we are in tandem working on these things consistently every day, all the time, we're working on our mindset, on our inner dialogue, on our the way that we're talking to ourselves, the voice and the tone that we use also towards ourselves, all of these types of things, the more that we're working on all of that. And alongside that, we're also accepting that our horses are flight animals and not expecting them to be anything but that. The more we actually learn to accept them as they are, to trust them as they are, and the more that we do that, the more the horse actually rises to meet us there.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
quite amazing. It's what I say to I've said for years. It's not that different than building a relationship with a human. How would the human respond if you were constantly doubting them, constantly, putting pressure on them to be a certain way that is against their nature? It never goes well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the principles to building a solid bond with your horse are actually not that different than building a solid bond with a human.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Love it. Well, have you got any closing tip or any closing thing that you want to leave us with? Maybe just a thought or something that you would like to shift in people's minds?
Oh man, so many.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I think that probably I will share just one thing that I've also said for years that I love, and that is, for me, the goal is working towards a 50-50 partnership with my horse. But that partnership doesn't necessarily start off 50-50. Uh, your horse has to understand what the framework of the relationship is. And it's up to us as the human to explain that to them. So whether it's a horse that's, had positive experiences in the past with humans, or not, you are still a new human to them. And it takes time for them to learn what the framework of this relationship is, how the relationship works, if it's different from what they've known before, because they will always act based on what they've known before. And sometimes that's not what the present human wants. So at the start, it's up to us to carry 80%, sometimes even 100% of the the load to build the relationship.
Yeah.
And as the horse learns, some of that percentage goes back to the horse, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And over time, when the experiences are positive and the animal is respected in their nature and treated with care and respect always, and understood as the being that they are, something incredible happens. It comes to this kind of 50-50 state. But again, like with human relationships, sometimes we need to carry the load
Hmm.
depending on what's going on, if our horse is sick or whatever. But there are times when you work this way and you think this way and you operate this way constantly, when you are not at your best and your horse carries the load for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are times when you work this way where the horse carries 100% of the load for you. And those are magical moments. They are such incredible moments. And it's it's not even a case of them being forced to do so. It's moments where they, of their own accord, they come and carry the load for us. And then the next day it's back to 50-50. And I think that that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's my goal. That's always my goal, and that's what I coach my clients towards, whether it's just on their perspective or through the horse or through the partnership. That's always my end goal.
Oh, I love that. That's super. Really nice. And a really good thing for us to think about that 50-50, which isn't
Yeah,
static, but very
yeah,
dynamic
yeah,
and may change throughout the relationship or day to day. I love
yeah.
that. Well, thanks ever so much, Nadia.
Thank
Where
you.
can people find you on the internet and on social media?
Well, I'm on Instagram.
Mhm.
My handle is Nadia_Hernandez.p. For the French speakers, I'm on Facebook also. But my French social media is Facebook. My English social media is Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn also under Nadia Hernandez. And I have a website also, which I can send you if you want to put it in the
Okay,
show
yeah.
notes. And I think that's it. Yeah.
That's enough. That's
Yeah,
quite
that's
a lot.
enough. That's
That's a
enough.
lot, especially when
Yeah.
you've got to deal with two languages. So
Yeah. I agree. Yes, that's it. It's a lot of work.
thank you ever so much. That is lots and lots of food for thought, and I really could have chatted for hours and hours with you. So I do hope you'll come back and tell us even more about
Anytime,
horses and
anytime,
behaviour. Oh, great.
anytime. Tracy, thank you so much.
Thank you.